Ready to do now is we're ready to do our pre-trip walk around. And this is what you're gonna have to do. The way that I'm ready to do it is how I need you to do it when you do your pre-trip for the examiner on your test day.
Yes,
So I
sir.
want you to do it, try to do it the way that I'm doing it.
Yes, sir.
Right, so when I start, I always start right here on the driver's side, and I say, this is my mirror, properly mounted and secure. Make sure you grab this mirror and shake it so that the examiner sees it. And remember, when you're out here on test day, there are planes that fly over. If a plane is flying over when you're ready to say something, let that plane fly over and then say it, because on your script it says, if the examiner doesn't hear you say it, it's like you didn't say it, even if you did say it. So
Right.
make sure you speak loudly, speak with your outside voice. All right, this is my driver's side mirror. It's properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked or damaged, and it's not broken. Then, what you want to do, you want to step back away from the bus. Use your hands. These are my marker lights and my turn signals. They are both amber in color. They are properly mounted and secure and working properly. Then you want to say your windshield. This is my windshield. It's not cracked or damaged, and there are no illegal stickers. Properly mounted and secure. Next, you want to talk about your windshield wipers. My windshield wipers have the proper tension. My windshield blades are not dry rotted, cracked, or damaged. Then you want to come back and say, these are my headlights. They are clear in color, they are properly mounted and secure and working properly. This is my bumper. It's properly mounted and secure. You do not have to talk about the bike rack. You do not have to talk about the marquee sign, okay? Then step back away from your coach. Look under your coach, make sure that you kneel over and say, I do not see any fluids leaking from the bus. And the bus is not leaning to the left or to the right. That's the front inspection. Then you want to come over to the side. You want to say, this is my driver's side mirror, properly mounted and secure, not cracked or damaged. This, if he has you to open it, good. If he doesn't, I'll show you both of them. But if it's open, you want to say, this is my battery disconnect. It cuts all power to the coach. That's all you have to say. These are my batteries. They are properly mounted and secure. The caps are in place and the couplings are secure and there is no rust. If there was rust, it would indicate that they may be loose. This is my air drainage valves. It drains all oil and water from the tank, okay? So, if he doesn't have you open it, you're still gonna do exactly what I just did. This is my battery disconnect. It cuts all power to the bus. My batteries are properly mounted and secure. The caps are in place and the couplings are secure and there's no rust. If it was rust, it would indicate that they might be loose. These are my air drainage valves. They drain all oil and water from the tank. That's all you have to say. This is my marker light. This is my left turn signal, properly mounted and secure and working properly. Then you want to say, this is my wheel well. There's no obstructions inside of the wheel well, and my mud flaps are properly mounted and secure and they're not touching the ground. This is my steering wheel. My steering wheel is inflated to 110 psi. My tread is evenly worn. It has a minimum of 4/32 of an inch, a minimum of 4/32 of an inch tread depth. Okay, the tread is not cut or damaged. My sidewall is not cut or damaged. When you do the tire, start from the top like I just did and work your way down. This is my sidewall. It's not cut or damaged. This is my aluminum rim. It's not cracked or damaged and there are no illegal welds. Next, these are my lug nuts. They're all present and accounted for and there's no rust trail. If there was a rust trail, it would indicate that they may be loose. This is my inner and outer oil hub seal. It is properly mounted and secure and not leaking. If it was leaking, there'd be a puddle at the bottom of the rim and it's filled to its adequate level. That's my metal valve stem. It's properly mounted and secure and not leaking. I do not hear any air leaks coming from the tire or the suspension. Now we want to talk about what's going on behind the tire, okay? We want to start with the drum. My brake drum is properly mounted and secure and not cracked or damaged. My brake shoes have a minimum of 1/4 inch thickness. My brake chamber activates the slack adjuster, which cannot have more than 1 inch of movement. My brake lines and hoses are properly mounted and secure and not leaking. Then you want to talk about my front air suspension airbags and or shock absorbers. The front of this bus has shock absorbers. There are none in the back. My front suspension airbags and shock absorbers are properly mounted and secure and not leaking. Then you want to talk about my steering box. My steering box is properly mounted and secure. This is my steering arm, my steering wheel shaft, my steering ring knuckle, spindle, tie rod, pitman arm, and drag link are all present and accounted for, and there are no missing parts. That's all you have to say. You're done. Now you want to go to the back of the bus, toward the side of the bus. You want to talk about your windows. My windows are all properly mounted and secure, are not cracked or damaged. My side panels are not loose. Walking to the back of the bus. This is my rear axle. All right. Same thing you said up front, you're gonna say back here, with the exception of there's no steering box back here. So you don't have to talk about the steering box back here. There are no shock absorbers back here. Only airbags. So you want to say my wheel well is free of debris, and my mud flaps are properly mounted and secure, and they're not touching. My rear duals are even size. The tread depth is 1/32 of an inch thick. The tread is evenly worn, and there are no cuts or abrasions to the tire or the sidewall. My aluminum bud rim, that's what you call this one back here, my aluminum bud rim is properly mounted and secure, not cracked or damaged. There are no illegal welds. Next, my lug nuts are all present and accounted for, and there's no rust trail. If there was a rust trail, it would indicate that they may be loose. This is my inner and outer oil hub seal, properly mounted and secure, and it's not leaking. If it was leaking, there'd be a puddle at the bottom of the rim, and it's filled to its adequate level. This is my inner and outer valve stem, properly mounted and secure, and the caps are in place. The tire is inflated to 110 psi. My suspension airbags are properly mounted and secure, and they're not damaged, and they're not leaking. My brake drum, properly mounted and secure. My brake shoes are a minimum of 1/4 inch thick. My brake chamber activates the slack adjuster, which cannot have more than 1 inch of movement. My brake lines and hoses are properly mounted and secure and not leaking. This coach does not use leaf springs or coil springs, and then you'll talk about that. My frame is not cracked or damaged. My drive shaft is not cracked or damaged and properly mounted and secure. That's all you got to say in the back. Then you want to come back here to the engine compartment. When you come back here to the engine compartment, you want to start from the top and work your way down. That's my exhaust pipe, properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or leaking. Okay. Then you want to come right here. This is my coolant, and this is my coolant sight glass, and my coolant is filled to its adequate level. Okay. Then you want to talk about these lines and hoses. These are my lines and hoses. Okay. These are my lines and hoses right here. Lines and hoses, properly mounted and secure, not cracked or damaged. Okay. That's all you got to say. This is my transmission and oil dipstick, and they are filled to their adequate level. That's all you got to say over there. Then you want to come over here. You want to say this. This is my alternator. See this bubble right here? And my water pump. They're both belt driven. They're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or leaking. All right. And then you want to say these are my belt tensioners. They are properly mounted and secure, and they have the proper tension. My belt has no more than 1 inch of movement. That's all you got to say. Okay. You don't have to say anything about the pulleys or anything like that. Okay. Then you want to come over here and you want to say this is my air compressor and my power steering pump, which you cannot see either one of them, but you want to say they're both gear driven, properly mounted and secure, and not leaking. That's all you got to say. Then you want to talk about these two sight glasses, these two gauges right here. All right. This is my oil pressure gauge. With the coach running, it cannot be above 30 psi. This is my temperature gauge. With the coach running, it should not be above 220 degrees. That's all you have to say. Okay. You're done back here. Then you want to come over here. You want to close this. You want to shut this. You want to step back away from the bus. The same as in the front. Use your hands. My rear marker lights My rear marker lights and brake lights are both red in color, properly mounted and secure and working properly. My turn signals are amber in color, properly mounted and secure and working properly. My reverse lights are properly mounted and secure and working properly, then they are clear in color. My bumper is properly mounted and secure. Those are brake lights in the center of the coach as well. Then you want to look underneath the bus. I don't see any leaks coming from the bus. Look at the bus. The bus is not leaning to the left or right. That's it. Then you want to come over here to this side of the coach and you want to say, this is my air compressor governor. It cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. This is my power steering reservoir, properly mounted and secure and filled to its adequate level. This is my DEF reservoir, properly mounted and secure and filled to its proper level. It changes carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide, okay? Once you do that right there, you're done. That's it, all right? Then you want to come right here. You do not have to talk about the wheels on this side. When you talk about them on that side, you don't have to talk about them on this side. Then you want to say, this is my gas cap. It's properly mounted and secured. All right? Then you want to say, this is my rear door. It's properly mounted and secure. My rubbers are secure and they're not cracked or damaged. My marker lights, my door marker lights are properly mounted and secure. They're clear in color. My windows are properly mounted and secure, not cracked or damaged, and they're properly mounted and secure. You don't have to talk about the front wheel, okay? Now you're ready to go into the coach. But before you do, you want to say, this is my door marker lights, which is clear in color, properly mounted and secure, and working properly. Get on the bus and open that door. All right, so when you get on the bus, make sure you use a 3-point stance. 2 hands, step on the bus. Then you want to say, my fuses are here. Come over here so you can see. This is my fire extinguisher. It is properly mounted and secure and it's filled to its adequate level, okay? Then you want to say, my door aisleway is clear of debris and there's no obstructions in the door aisleway, okay? Then you want to come in here and you're going to have 3 pieces over here. You're going to have your safety triangles are going to be right here. This is my COVID kit and my first aid kit. They're going to be here on test day, okay? Yes. Then you want to go through the coach and you want to say, these are my rails. They're properly mounted and secure. You want to be shaking them as you go through. My seats are properly mounted and secure. There's no obstructions or debris in the doorway. There's no obstruction or debris in the rear doorway. These are my step lights. There's lights that's right here. They're properly mounted and secure and working properly. Stay there. Then you want to come here, stop, turn around, and tell them, this is my emergency hatch. To operate the emergency hatch, you turn the knob to the right to exit, and you push up. 1, 2. This is how you open the emergency hatch. Then close it back and re-secure it. Then, since we're talking about emergency hatches, you come back to these steps, stop right here, and say, all the windows, turn around and get them, all the windows with red handles, get all of them. All the windows with red handles are emergency exits. And this is how you work them. Back over here. Come to this window, the one right close to the door. Use this window, it's the smallest window.
Yes, sir.
To operate this window, you pull the handle down, push the window out. That's how you operate. Then you want to say, this is my emergency release air valve for the back door. There's one at the front door as well. Break the glass, pull the handle down, it releases air so you can open the doors manually. That's that. You're done. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now you're going up here. Remember, when he tells you to do your inside inspection, you must do your 5-point brake test to complete your inside inspection. Now we're ready to sit in the seat and do our 5-point brake test. But before we do, come on up here once I get in the seat. Jamar, when you sit in this seat, make sure you put your seatbelt on. But before you put your seatbelt on, you want to say, this is my seatbelt. It's not frayed or damaged. And make sure you say this. And it is secure, okay? Then you want to talk about what I do with that key. Then you want to talk about your driver's compartment, okay? You gotta name all these parts on the driver's compartment. And you starting with your parking brake. You don't have to talk about the phone, you want to start with the parking brake. This is my parking brake, and it is secure. This is my door handle. It operates the front and rear door. This is my master switch. When you get to the master switch, you want to turn the coach on. This is my master switch. Turn 2 clicks to the right. 1, 2. Now I'm looking up at the control panels board, waiting on it to light up and waiting on it to go out. Once it goes out, this is my engine start button. Once you start the bus, I want you to say my air compressor governor cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. The moment you start the bus, my air compressor governor cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. This is my fast idle switch. You want to make sure that your fast idle switch is in the off position when you take your test. These are my 4-ways, my hazard lights, whatever you want to call it. Operate them. You must show him that they work. When you turn them on, look up at that board. Make sure that they're on. Once you show them that they're on, you turn them back off. Then you want to name, this is my chime switch. That's all you got to do is tell them what it is. This is my interior lights. You do have to show him that they work. So when you tell him these are my interior lights, look in your mirror and turn them on so he can see them come on and go off. Okay? When you take your test, they need to be on. Okay? Next, you want to say, this is my transmission pad. Alright? That's all you got to say. This is my transmission pad. This is my front door air release valve. It releases air to the front door. You don't have to operate it, you just have to tell them what it is. Then you want to come over to the dashboard and you want to say, this is my driver's control fan. You do not have to operate that. You just tell them what it is. This is my panel lamp. You do operate that. It brightens and dims the dashboard, okay? Then come down here. This is my windshield wipers. Make sure that when you tell him that these are your windshield wipers, you tell him the windshield wipers have 3 speeds. You need to show him that they work. Low, medium, and high, okay? Once you do that, turn them back off, and then you want to tell him, this is my windshield washer fluid. Back over here. This is my windshield washer fluid. Push down and hold it down, and your windshield washer fluid should come out, okay? That's all you got to do. He needs to see that your wipers work. Put this on me. He needs to see that your wipers work, and he needs to see that the fluid works, because these are safety hazards. Just in case it's raining or snowing, he needs to know that they work. Okay, it's important that you operate them. Okay. Sure. Next, you want to come over here and say, this is my climate control switch. You do not have to show him what that does. You just got to say what it is. Come down here. This is my temperature select. That's all you got to do is tell him that. This is my flow select. That's all you got to do is say that. This is my heater defrost fan. You do have to operate the heater defrost fan, because he needs to know that if my windows fog up, my defrost works. It has 3 speeds: low, medium, and high. You got to show him that they work, okay? Then you want to come over to this part of the dashboard. This is my primary and secondary air gauge. All right? When you talk about this, you can also say, this is my primary and secondary air gauge. My air compressor governor cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You have 3 opportunities to say that your air compressor governor cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. If you say it in the back of the bus when you're telling them about the controls in the back, and you say that's my air compressor governor, it cuts out between 120 and 140 psi, you don't have to say it no more. But you got to make sure you say it either there, or when you start the bus, or when you get here. Those are your 3 chances to say it. If you say it in the back, you don't have to say it again up here. If you say it right here, you don't have to say it when you get over here. If you get right here and you realize that you hadn't said it, this is when you have to say it. This is your last opportunity. Sure. If you do not say that, he can fail you. Okay? So let's make sure that you say that, okay? This is my speedometer. This is my fuel gauge. This is my DEF gauge. Again, if you say it back there when you tell them this is my DEF reserve tank, and it converts carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide, you don't have to say it up here. Again, in the back of the bus, in the engine compartment, remember those 2 gauges that I talked about?
Yes.
If you say back there, this is my oil gauge, and it operates, it should be below 30 psi when the coach is running. This is my temperature gauge. It should be below 220 degrees with the engine running. If you say it back there, all you got to do is come up here and say, this is my oil gauge, this is my temperature gauge. You don't have to say it again. If you say it back there, you don't have to say it up here. Then you come over here and say, this is my voltage gauge. All right, that's all you got to say. Now you want to come over here to this compartment. You want to say, this is my Neil switch. And in this time, I need you to get back here behind this door, open it. When you talk about the Neil switch, you want to operate. You want to say, this is my Neil switch. And when you tell them this is your Neil switch, lower the bus. So you're now ready to show him that the wheelchair ramp works. Then you're going to come down here. Can you see me? Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Then you're going to come down here and you're going to say, this is my power switch for my wheelchair ramp. This is my deploy and stow ramp. Open the door. Show him that the wheelchair ramp works by deploying it. And take it all the way out. When you take it all the way out, bring it all the way back in. Remember this. Once this is closed, just come back up here. I need you to get this. Come back up here. Once your wheelchair ramp is back in, close the door. And lift the bus, raise the bus up. Once the wheelchair ramp closes, raise the bus up and close the door. You cannot take your CDL test with the door open. Remember that, okay? Once you've done that, now you want to come over here back to the steering wheel. You know, this is my steering wheel, this is my horn. Show him that it works, okay? Then you don't have to show him that the steering wheel tilts or nothing like that. You can just say, this is my scope on my steering wheel. That's all you gotta say. Then we want to go down here to our feet. All right, this is my accelerator, this is my primary brake. Okay, then you want to come over here to the Bermuda triangle. This is my left turn signal. Push it, look up, make sure that it's working. These are my brights. Put them on, see how they came on, turn them off. The brights are the only ones that you push on and push off. This is my left turn signal. Make sure that it's working. When you tell them these are your turn signals, you should be looking up to make sure that they work. 10-4?
10-4.
All right, once you do that, you have completed the driver's compartment. Oh, make sure that when you talk about these two, the accelerator and the primary brake, all right, you need to tell him that there's no debris or obstructions behind the brakes or the accelerator that could stop my brakes from working. You need to say there's no trash underneath the brake pedal, okay? Yes, so once you do that, now you're ready to do your 5-point brake test. That's when you say to the examiner, I'm now ready to perform my 5-point brake test, okay? When you do that, you say to him, my parking brake is set. I'm now ready to test my parking brake. And the way that you test your parking brake, when you tell him you're ready to test your parking brake, you're gonna put, I got my foot on my service brake, I'm gonna put the coach in gear. Listen to the coach, it'll tell you if it goes in gear. Did you hear that? All right, once you do that, you push on the accelerator. And you say, and you push on it, and you say, my parking brake is holding. I'm now ready to test my service brake. With my foot on the service brake, I'm going to release the parking brake. Once you release that parking brake, once you push the parking brake down, you do not touch that parking brake anymore. Don't touch it, because the rest of this test is to get this parking brake to pop back up. So once you push it down, like I just did, because you're ready to do your service brake test, you want to say, I'm now ready to perform my service brake test. I'm going to release my parking brake. The coach is already in drive. You don't have to put it in drive. What you're going to do now is you're going to say, I'm going to let the coach roll forward at 5 miles an hour. Let it go forward, and you push on the service brake. When you push on the service brake, you want to say, my service brake is working properly. The coach did not pull to the left or right, and I did not have more than 1-2 inches of movement in the steering wheel. I'm now ready to perform my low air warning test, my air leakage test. I'm now ready to perform my air leakage test. And in order to do that, you must turn the coach off. Turn it off 2 clicks to the left. 1, 2, and then turn it back on 1 click to the right. And then you're going to say, I'm now going to apply 90 pounds of pressure to the service brake. I should not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute. When you say that, you need to be looking at your primary and secondary air gauge and push on that brake. And he will tell you when your minute is up. You're pushing on that brake until he says your minute is up. When he says your minute is up, you then say to him, and I did not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute. Then you're going to say, I'm now ready to perform my low air warning light and our buzzer test. My low air pressure warning light and our buzzer test. This is the test that talks about these up here. Either a light is going to come on or a buzzer is going to come on. I'm going to start fanning my service brake. And my low air pressure warning light and our buzzer should come on below 80 and before 60 psi. That's when you start fanning this brake. So as you're fanning it, you're looking up here. You're waiting on this light to come on and stay on. And then once that light comes on, did you see that?
Yes, sir.
You say, and it did. And then you say to him, I'm now ready to perform my spring brake test. I'm going to continue fanning my service brake. And my spring brake over here, and my spring brake should pop up below 45 and before 20 psi. And when you're doing that, you're looking at your spring brake. And it did. Then you say to him, I'm now ready to restart my coach. One more click to the right. Start the coach. I'm looking up to see if my ABS light comes on and stays on. If it stays on, it would indicate that there may be a malfunction in my brake system. And this completes my 5-point brake test. You're done. That's the 5-point brake test. Study that, remember that, and remember, take your time. You are not on the clock. You don't have to rush through this. There's no time limit on this. Take your time, go over and just go over these steps and do it this way, and you will be successful. And that completes your 5-point brake test.
All right.